From Israel Adesanya's ridiculous jewelry collection to John Jones's epic garage, these are the insanely expensive things UFC fighters spend their millions on. Let's kick this list off with one of the biggest stars in the UFC right now, Israel the Last Style Bender Adesanya.
Even if I lost this fight, I would have still bought the McLaren, but I'll just be crying inside it, which is fun. But I like things like that just because it motivates me.
Before his recent defeat to long-standing rival Alex Pereira, Izzy was the middleweight champ for years, so it's safe to say he was getting paid very well. And with so much money at his disposal, he's purchased some pretty insane items. For instance, Izzy spent a whopping $200,000 on jewelry. His collection includes a stunning diamond necklace made by renowned jeweler Ben Baller, which cost the Nigerian $60,000. He also has a crazy collection of watches, like an all-gold Rolex worth $80,000. And he loves his bracelets and rings too. He's often seen wearing a $30,000 bracelet and a $13,000 diamond ring. But jewelry isn't the only thing Izzy splashed his cash on. Turns out, Izzy has a thing for cars too. For instance, a few years ago, he bought his mom a Porsche Cayenne SUV and recently treated his dad to a brand new Bentley Continental GT. Guess those are the perks of raising a lean, mean fighting machine, right? For himself, Izzy drives a McLaren.
It was meant to be a Lamborghini, but unfortunately, I couldn't sit upright in the Lamborghini. I had to drive it like this. So I opted for a McLaren instead.
Worth an insane $500,000. You know, more than some people earn in their entire lives. But none of these purchases come close to how much Izzy spent on his house. Are you ready for this? Izzy purchased his house for $800,000.
I bought my first home. That cost me about $800,000. From then, I've just been buying houses and land since.
That's right, nearly $1 million on one purchase. To be fair, his house is insane and comes with literally everything you could dream of, from a huge kitchen to a custom cinema room. Fair play, Izzy. You worked hard, and you deserve to enjoy those rewards. But Izzy's far from the only UFC star who's balling out. The next guy on our list makes Izzy look broke, and you've probably already guessed who I'm talking about. The one, the only, the notorious Conor McGregor.
Look what's next for me, Joe. I'm gonna get that second belt. Where the is it? They should have had them 2 belts ready. Spit shine for me. They're both in the octagon. It's never been done before.
Conor's had his fair share of fights in the UFC, but earned the majority of his net worth in his one boxing match with Floyd Mayweather and his business ventures like Proper 12. All in, McGregor's worth a staggering $180 million. And it's safe to say that he spent a good chunk of this. You just have to take a look at his garage to see what I'm talking about. Conor owns over 15 cars, including a Lamborghini Aventador, a Lamborghini Huracan, a Corvette Stingray, and a McLaren 12C, which can reach a top speed of 204 miles per hour. But interestingly, McGregor's favorite car in his collection isn't a McLaren, a Lambo, or a Ferrari. It's a Vauxhall Astra. This was the first car that he purchased during his fighting career. Conor also loves to drop a lot of coin on houses. Did you know that he owns a house in Ireland worth $2 million and a $1.7 million property in Spain that's decked out with a custom gym, LED driveway, and a pool? He even owned a home in Las Vegas up until recently, but this has since been put on the market for sale. Now, we all know McGregor as the swanky, loudmouth Irishman in a suit, right? But I bet you won't be able to guess how much those suits cost. Whatever number you're thinking of, double it. Conor's suits cost upwards of $10,000. Yeah, her suit! Each one's tailored to McGregor's body and style. But still, 10 grand? Come on, man. To enhance the swagger even further, McGregor has a huge watch collection, and forget Rolexes. I'm talking APs and Pateks. The most expensive watch in his collection is the Patek Philippe Rose Gold Nautilus, which cost him $100,000. Damn! Guess getting your head punched in for a living does have its perks. Thing is, McGregor isn't all about flashy watches and designer suits. He's also a pretty big charity man. He recently announced a new home building project for the homeless in Dublin and said, "We have 8 homes here closing in on finish. 3-bedroom houses designated for families that currently reside in hotels around the capital, without a home to call their own. But not for long. Through the storm comes the sun." Fair play, Conor. Classy move. The next UFC fighter on our list hasn't exactly had had the best couple of years, losing 2 fights in a row to the same guy. We're of course talking about the Nigerian nightmare, Kamaru Usman. His record might not be looking so good at the moment, but his bank account sure is, and he's very open about his wealth and constantly flexing on social media. One of his most expensive possessions is his Rolls-Royce Ghost, a car that's the epitome of class and wealth. On top of this, he also owns a Lamborghini Urus, which costs about $200,000. Kamaru's also been seen wearing a Rolex Datejust with a fluted bezel. These retail for about $17,500. Damn, I thought my Casio was expensive. Anyway, let's take a look at another great wrestler, a man who's arguably the pound-for-pound best fighter on the planet right now, Alex Volkanovski. As a featherweight champ, this guy makes a lot of money, and he loves to spend it on some awesome things. For instance, he recently showed off his insane Rolex, a stainless steel Rolex with a stunning white dial. Alex purchased the watch as a memento for when he became a champ. So there's a lot of sentimental value behind this one. Like the other fighters on this list, Alex has also invested an insane amount of money into his home. In fact, he spent $1.2 million on his pad. If you've seen his house tour, you'll probably know that this was money well spent. I mean, the house is amazing. Clearly, the Aussie's fulfilled his dream of giving his 2 daughters the best life possible. Now, one man who has chosen to spend his money on completely different things from other fighters on this list is UFC legend Khabib Nurmagomedov. The Eagle was one of the best fighters that the Octagon's ever seen, and it's no secret that he's earned millions, if not tens of millions throughout his career. However, if you look at him, you probably wouldn't be able to tell. He doesn't own any flashy jewelry or luxury watches, and hasn't even moved out of his hometown in Dagestan. Instead of material purchases, Khabib has always put his money into bettering his own fighting ability by hiring the best coaches, nutritionists, and equipment that money can buy. Now that he's retired, he's dedicated both his financial and intellectual resources to helping out other prospects. For instance, he opened a Tier 1 style gym in Russia, specializing in MMA, and the way that he spends money shows just how humble and devoted he is not to only his community, but the fight game as a whole. In a recent interview, Khabib said, "Money is no longer a main aim for me. I can provide for my family, and that is all that matters. I prefer to raise goats and keep my farms and yards in good shape." Man, what a guy. The final UFC fighter on our list needs no introduction. He's one of the scariest men on the planet, Jon Bones Jones. Jon's been earning championship paydays for more than a decade, and has certainly indulged in those paychecks. Just look at his solid gold Rolex Oyster Perpetual day date that retails for just under $40,000. Oh, and his garage? It's worth over $300,000. Inside it, you'll find a Bentley Continental GT, a Nissan Armada, and a Cadillac CTS-V. Damn, Jon, way to flex on the haters. So, from Jon Jones's unreal garage to Izzy Adesanya's mental jewelry collection, those were the insanely expensive things UFC fighters spend their millions on.